Welcome back to Tech Talks from Commercial Baking. In this episode, sponsored by Peerless Food Equipment, I am speaking with Bill Everett, Global Sales Manager, and we are identifying key considerations for choosing the right mixer for specific product applications. Bill, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited about this topic. I haven't had a lot of conversations about it, and I love the idea of sort of taking a deep dive into some of the specificities around choosing the right mixer application. So I'm thinking about when we talk about product development, it always comes down to customization, whether it's for specific product needs or dietary needs, or whether it's customization around the equipment to make sure that it's running a new product correctly. I feel like there might be this assumption that a mixer is a mixer and it's a one size all type of application. But how does customization apply for product development with mixers?
Sure. So basically, every Peerless mixture we make has got some type of a customization to it. The top of the mixture that we call the canopy, it has different inlets, and the customer is typically feeding the mixer with a bulk ingredient system. And so we will customize the top of the mixer to align with their bulk ingredient system. And everybody's is a little different, has different number of inlets. And we make each of our models in 5 different horsepowers. And depending on the type of product, we do some evaluation to determine what the right horsepower is for each mixer. And that gives us flexibility to make sure we're getting the right mixer for the application. And it goes into the customer's facility and it works very well for their situation.
So let's talk about just some examples of selecting product specific mixer agitator options. So like what are the key considerations that a baker needs to know if they're mixing something that's say masa based or it's like a granola bar? What does a baker need to think about for a specific type of product?
There's many different types of dough that are made today. Like you mentioned, the masa or the granola, and each one has different characteristics. And so we evaluate that based upon our experience. And also, so we can evaluate each dough and figure out which type of agitator it might need or whatever the application would call for. If for some chance I don't know what the application requires, I have a lot of resources to pull from and make sure that we're getting the right mixer for the right product.
Just mentioning masa based products or granola bars, it kind of gets me thinking these are really sticky doughs that you're talking about. So then it just sort of sparks this thought about sanitation and mixers. And so, what are some of the things that bakers need to think about as far as their sanitation needs according to specific products?
In today's world, horizontal mixers have evolved into what they call an open frame style mixer. It's a cleaner application. So traditionally, a motor would be mounted under a mixing bowl, and the flour and the dust and everything just kind of made a mess. And so in today's world, most mixers are made with an open frame design. At Peerless, we have a clean view mixer, and it has structural members made of round tubing so that they can be cleaned very easily. It's completely stainless steel. There's no worry about paint, which we had on traditional mixers. And we do a direct drive. So there's no more belt or chain. So there's a lot less parts. And the machine in general is easier to clean because there's so much less components.
There are all these factors that a baker needs to think about when choosing a mixer, whether it's the product type or how that specific type of product can impact sanitation needs. So I like that you all are really dialing in that specifically to what a baker needs for their product type. And you mentioned that if you don't have the answer, that you have a host of resources that you can rely on to sort of get the answer. So I'm curious, what are some of the ways that Peerless experts help in that regard to making sure that a mixer is really customized to a specific application?
So we take into account, depending on the type of dough, if it's a yeast product, we would do an absorption calculation. We have specific calculations to evaluate the recipe that the customer has for that particular dough. If it's a cookie or a cracker-based product or granola, we would look at the density and On a granola product, sometimes the binding agent to make the bar hold together is crucial into understanding which type of mixer agitator we would use because we do use various agitator types depending on the type of granola bar.
So there's something else that you mentioned that sparked another thought for me, and that is we're talking about horizontal mixers. I've been talking to a lot of bakers recently who are kind of scaling up, who are getting ready to take that next step from a bowl mixer to a horizontal mixer. When a baker's ready to scale up their production, what do they need to know about taking that next step into horizontal mixing?
If they're using like a traditional vertical style mixer and they find that they're just buying, more and more, and then they decide they want to move to a horizontal mixer, most customers that they need to understand is they need to do a little bit of R&D work because the dough does develop a little bit differently from a vertical mixer to a horizontal. Just the RPMs of the mixers are a little bit different. The way the flour and the water absorb is a little slightly different. So we recommend some time in there for research and we can either help them with that where they can come to our facility and make some dough and we can try different agitator types if that's necessary. Or we can rent them a mixer and they can do it at their facility, which sometimes is a better solution.
Okay, that's really cool. We talk a lot with suppliers who have innovation centers, which I know you do, but I don't hear a lot about renting the mixer to do some testing right on site in their operation. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Basically, we have a mixer with all the different agitator types that we sell that are most common. We have a process, and of course, sometimes different salespeople are fighting over the mixers because we got different customers, and we only have one test mixer for each different agitator type, and so we have to plan that out and make sure we get that in front of customers. And it's a small fee, and a lot of times, if they end up buying the mixer from us, then a portion of their rental fees are actually returned. So it's mostly just the freight back and forth is what they have as far as a cost.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I like that you have options, whether to come to your facility or possibly renting the mixer in their plant. So, with all of these options, that gives bakers a lot to think about. So, what would you say is the best first step that a baker should take to learn more about what Peerless has to offer?
So I think the first step is to go to our website at peerlessfood.com, and we have a map that maps out all the territories in the US and also all over the world. And because we sell into basically every country, and it tells you the phone number of all of our sales representatives is for your specific area. The best place to start is to, make sure you use the resources that are free to you because we're here to help and help get the best mixer for the application.
Perfect. Well, Bill, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me about some of the things that bakers need to think about when choosing the right type of mixer for their product application. I think it's really important because that's how bakers are going to get the best quality product that they can possibly make.
Absolutely.